Time to check in with CTV tech analyst. That is Carmi Levy. Talk about a couple of stories in the news today. I want to start with this one because obviously this will affect pretty much everyone who's got a smartphone. And something that we've all complained about. I've certainly heard enough people complain about it, he said, looking into a mirror. The high roaming fees. So when you get out of the country, right, the idea was, and I think they used to be a lot worse, Carmi, if I'm not mistaken, but now Canada's big three telecoms being called out by the CRTC to actually go ahead and lower international roaming fees. How would this work?
Yes, I mean, over a decade ago, we would hear stories of, going to the U.S. or traveling overseas and coming home to like 4 or 5 figure bills because of data overage charges. And that, of course, no longer happens. Instead, they replaced it with a flat fee. So originally they were $5 a day. And basically for $5 a day, you can travel to the U.S. And abroad and basically take your plan with you, and there would be no overage charges. So easy peasy. Well, over the years, that $5 has become, now it's upwards of $15 or $16. And it's been going up a couple bucks every year. And a lot of people are saying that adds up pretty significantly. So the CRTC, our national regulator, has asked the country's major telecommunications companies, has given them about a month till next November, the 4th, to tell them how they are going to take concrete steps to respond to concerns that these prices have been going up faster than they should, well beyond inflation. And they're going to have an action plan. And if the government is not happy that the industry is making sufficient progress on the matter, they're saying they're going to launch formal public proceedings. They're going to call them on the carpet. They're going to have to explain themselves. So those roaming fees aren't going to get cheaper anytime soon, but it looks like the government is not happy about it, and they're starting to do something about it, so we're going to have to watch this one.
All right. Well, we certainly will, but you're right. You remember those days at the beginning when you used to come home and like a $400 roaming charge on your bill, and you're like, how did this happen? I didn't even do anything.
Oh, good times.
Yeah, good times indeed. All right, let me move on to this next story. I'm sure most people have heard of 23andMe, the company that takes your DNA and tells you that you have relatives who lived 5,000 years ago, or maybe you're allergic to dinosaurs. I don't know what, but regardless, this company, it would seem, is in trouble, right? So I guess part of it is over a data breach. What's the rest of the story here? And for people who spent their money and actually gone ahead and dealt with 23andMe, what's the concern?
The concern is that this company now has your genetic profile, your genome, and so it literally has the very signature of who you are. And then that information in the wrong hands could be problematic. It's not like a password that you can change. And so what's happening here is, they had a breach earlier this year, very high profile. They did not recover well from it at all. They blamed their end users. They blamed everyone but themselves. It was an absolute debacle. Now their board has resigned. Their stock price is down by almost 98%. The CEO of the company is saying that she wants to take it private, and there are sharks circling in the waters. The company might be bought out, it might go bankrupt, it might be dissolved, and no one seems to know where all of that data, all of that genetic information that's been shared with them is going to go, because they're not saying how they're going to protect it. So it's frightening. It's almost like Fort Knox is no longer under the control of the government. It's not, now anyone can kind of walk in and see what's going on in there. And this is incredibly scary for the millions of people who have used this service.
Yes, to my question then, so let's say you're one of those people, they have your DNA. What do you do as a private individual can you get it back? What do you do? Or should we have to wait here and find out what the government plans to force them to do?
I mean, you can go into the service. You can log into their website if you have an account with them. If you have signed up for it, if you sent them that cheek swab, you can go through. There is a process to get rid of your account and you can ask them to remove your data. But this is a company that has not really played by the rules in recent years, and don't really trust them a whole lot. You sort of have to take it on faith that they're actually going to delete the data, or that it won't exist on some backup somewhere. So there are certain things you can do, but again, I don't really trust them a whole lot. And if your data is there, it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, let me move on from that and talk about this. If I'm reading this right, Carmi, this is actually pretty amazing. So Apple Watch users report this particular app called Vitals is detecting illnesses before symptoms appear. It sound too good to be true?
No, actually, I mean it's interesting because what Vitals is. It's an app that connects to your smartwatch with your iPhone, and it tracks a whole bunch of things: heart rate, respiratory rate, wrist temperature, sleep, your sleep state, how long you sleep, how well you sleep, and blood oxygen levels. And what it does is it uses artificial intelligence to identify patterns in all of that data. And in many cases, we're seeing reports on Reddit now kind of pop up. People are saying, I started noticing the data, like the trend that it was sharing with me on the app. It was changing, but I didn't feel anything. And then a few days later, I had a cold, I had the flu, I had something else. And so, what doctors are saying is that this data, oftentimes the data will signal a change in health before you can actually feel it. And so this is a really good thing because we know that Apple Watches and other smartwatches are increasingly being used to track your health. And this is data that in the hands of a medical professional can go a long way toward, better diagnosing the things that are wrong with you. If your Apple Watch can do it even faster, even before you feel it, so much the better. And I think it's a really cool reason sort of why these wearables are as popular as they are.
I imagine doctors will be very happy to get a phone call saying, hey, my watch told me I have this. What do you think? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. Don't do the WebMD thing, but certainly, it's a question that I've asked my doctor. If that's something that she wants and she has asked for it, she will consult it. But again, let the doctor make the call. Don't you make the diagnosis.
All right. Last thing today, I'd not heard anything about this. So Meta has something called Movie Gen, which is an AI system which apparently can spot or tell the difference between a deep fake video from a single photo. How would this work?
It's scary. Basically, you take one photo, you scan it into this Movie Gen video generator, and from that image, it creates a full video, full motion with sound. So in other words, if you have a photo and you don't like someone and you want to create a nasty deep fake video about them, you can happily do that right from a photo. Or you can take an existing video and you can modify the video. You can put that person's image into the video. You can change the background. You can change the style, the tone, the texture, everything. And so essentially it becomes a tool for malevolent actors, nasty people, to create any video they want that is almost indistinguishable from the real thing. The good news here is that Meta has not released this to the public. It is only internal for now. They're just announcing the technology. Earlier this year, OpenAI introduced something similar called Sora. Microsoft has something called Vasa 1. And all of these are still limited to internal use only because they're afraid of what happens when it gets released. So the scary thing is what happens if somebody releases it into the public domain? I almost don't want to ask what happens then.
In an age where we live with so much disinformation and misinformation, it just seems to me this is one more avenue. You say just, it'll be released internally. Someone's going to be able to do something with this, right? So here we go yet again.
Exactly. They can, these companies can voluntarily say, we're going to put all sorts of protections in place, but we've seen this happen before where technology leaks out and it gets into the wrong hands. And unfortunately, there are no controls, either legal or technological, to prevent assets, videos that were created from these tools from seeing the light of day. So bit by bit, the horse is getting out of the barn, and unfortunately, we are not equipped to deal with what happens when it does.
Yeah, by the way, you'll be happy to know my producer, Marco, said, what happened to the good old days when you could just take a photo and draw a mustache on it, like a fake mustache? Don't you miss those days?
I wish we could go back to those.
Wouldn't that be nice? Carmi, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron.